In this video, I'm going to go over how to use the law of sines to find either a missing side or a missing angle in a triangle that isn't a right triangle. So if you're looking at the picture here where I have A, B, and C labeled, it doesn't matter where you start labeling your angles, but if I label this angle A, across from it has to be side A, and I use the lowercase letter of that angle. So if I have angle B, across from it is side B, and if I have angle C, across from it is side C. You have to have a pair of a side and an angle with an actual measure to be able to use the law of sines. You have to have one pair. So if I'm looking at the first example, and I see that I have angle B, but not side B. I have angle A, but not side A. And then I see C and side C. I have side C, so that's good news. And I can find angle C easily because I know the inside of a triangle adds to 180. So if I already have 150, the other angle must be 30 degrees. So now we have a pair. So I have the sine of 30 over the side of 15. So it does not matter what order you do these ratios in. You just have to have one equal to another. So you don't even have all three set up. It's just one ratio equal to another. And you typically, I just find my pair and put that down first. So the sine of 30 goes with its side 15 is equal to, let's say I wanted to find side A, and I'm going to make this example just be find A so that we don't have to do all the missing things. So I have the sine of 50 over A. So I put 50 on the top because it's the angle. It goes with sine of 50, and then we have over A because that's the side we're looking for. And then I'm going to cross multiply. So I would do A times the sine of 30 equals 15 times the sine of 50. And then I am going to get rid of the sine of 30 by dividing by the sine of 30 on both sides because I am multiplying A by the sine of 30. So I'm going to type this all into my calculator at one time. If you are using Desmos like I am, I make sure that it's in degrees. I hit the wrench tool. I usually hit the fraction key first. I believe it was the sine of 50 on the top and the sine of 30 on the bottom. And that would be 22.98 if I did that correctly, and I did, so 22.98. And I don't have units, but it would just be in length. All right. I'm going to skip to example 3 because it's an example where you need to find an angle. So if I'm finding an angle, I'm looking here, I have a pair, I have side C is 9 and angle C is 65. So I have a pair. Let's say I wanted to find big B. So I'm going to do the sine of 65 over 9, because that's the pair that I have, angle over its side, is equal to the sine of angle B over 8. And then I'm going to do the same thing where I cross multiply. 9 times the sine of B, is equal to 8 times the sine of 65. I want to get B alone, so first I'm going to divide by 9. And now I have the sine of B is equal to 8 sine of 65 over 9. I'm not going to type this in the calculator yet. In order to get rid of the sine of B, I just want B alone, I have to take the inverse sine of both sides. So I'm going to do inverse sine to the left, and I'm going to do inverse sine to the right, and sine and inverse sine cancel, so I'm left with B equals, and now I can type this into my calculator. So I have inverse sine, which I find in functions, inverse sine, and then I have 8 sine 65 over 9. So I'm going to put on the top 8 sine 65 over 9. And that gives me 53.67. And that's in degrees. So when you're missing an angle, you're always going to use inverse trig. All right. Example 2. I'm going to pretend that this one wants to find side C, little c. So I look for a pair. I have my pair of B's. I have angle B, so the sine of 78, over its side, which is 17. I want to find side C, so I'm going to do the sine of its angle, 80, over little c. I'm going to cross multiply. C times the sine of 78 is equal to 17 times the sine of 80. To get C alone, you divide by the sine of 78. And then C will be by itself. So we just have to type this into the calculator. So I have 17 sine of 80 over the sine of 78, which is 17.12. And again, I don't have units listed on any of these examples. All right, one more example of finding an angle. I just drew one out because I didn't have one. And so I'm going to call this A, why not? So if that's angle A, then this would be side A. So I have a pair. So the sine of 110 over 14 is equal to the sine of my missing angle B. I just made up the letters myself. Over side B, which is 6. Then I'm going to cross multiply. And I'm going to divide by 14. So the sine of B is equal to 6 sine of 110 over 14. And I'm going to take the inverse sine of both sides. And I'm going to type that into the calculator. So 6 sine 110 over 14. I typed it in wrong. 6 sine 110 over 14 gives me 23.75. And this is how you find missing angles and missing sides of non-right triangles using the law of sines.